Hey guys, it's Jasma, and today we're going to make a whole roasted turkey for Thanksgiving. As you can tell from many of my past videos, I like to eat turkey very much, almost every single week in various different ways, and my family has been roasting whole turkeys for every Thanksgiving. It just never occurred to me that I have yet to make a video, so we're going to do that today. I'm going to be sharing with you many different tips and tricks and techniques on how to perfect your turkey, make your life a little bit easier and less chaotic on Thanksgiving. Making a Thanksgiving turkey can seem a little bit intimidating because you are cooking such a big bird and it takes such a long period of time, but the two main secrets to making a great turkey is number one, to be extremely patient. You want to make sure you have lots of time on your hands because it takes a long time to cook this without drying it out, and you need to rest it as well. And secondly, it's to have lots of great ingredients. You don't want to be shy on what you put into this turkey because you want to make it worth all the time and all the work, make sure it's delicious. First of all, you want to make sure you choose your turkey. So it's usually quite difficult to find a fresh turkey unless it's really close to Thanksgiving or Christmas time. So today I have a frozen turkey ready to go. Now when you're in the store choosing the size of your turkey, you want to take into consideration how many people you're planning to feed with this whole turkey. Now the typical amount is you want to leave 1.5 pounds for each person. So today I have a 16-pound turkey here, which is going to feed up to 8 to 10 people. So this is for a pretty big feast. If you're purchasing fresh turkey, make sure you buy it up to 2 days ahead of time. Now the reason for it is because you want to allow the turkey to be able to sit in your fridge for a couple of days so that the temperature evens out. The way that fresh turkey are stored in supermarkets creates a really icy kind of effect inside of the turkey, and it's still really cold overall. So if you don't allow the temperature to increase just a little bit in the fridge, when you cook it, it's actually going to cook unevenly and it'll take much longer as well. You want to make sure you put it inside of a tray when you place it into the fridge so that it can catch any of the drips so it doesn't make a huge mess inside of your fridge. Now if you are to buy a frozen turkey, it's even more important for you to leave lots of time beforehand. So you should purchase it up to 5 to 7 days ahead of time. Now of course you need to let the turkey slowly defrost in your fridge so that it's still not rock solid when you're ready to cook it. Make sure you put it inside of a tray so that it can catch all the drips and so that it doesn't make a huge mess inside of your fridge. You can choose to leave it in the fridge and let it slowly defrost over time, or if you want to speed up the process just a little bit, I have a little bit of a trick. You can choose to place the frozen turkey inside of a cooler, fully submerge it in water, and add lots of ice to it. So the temperature is still nice and low. It doesn't ruin the turkey in any way, shape, or form, but it does speed up the process of defrosting it. You want to leave at least half an hour for each pound of the turkey to defrost. So since I have 16 pounds of the turkey, it's going to take about 8 hours for mine to fully defrost, and usually I like to give it even more time, so say about 9 hours or so. You want to make sure you keep checking on it to make sure the temperature isn't too low. If the water has become slightly warm or completely at room temperature, make sure you add a little bit more ice to it so it doesn't become bad. And meanwhile, we can start to prepare the turkey. Alright, the turkey is now nice and clean. So I'm going to transfer this to a rack. I'm going to have a pan underneath to catch any of the extra water. And I'm going to use lots of paper towels to pat this dry. You'll want to make sure you get rid of as much moisture as you possibly can so that it doesn't become weird and soggy. Make sure you get literally every single part of the turkey, lift up all the little legs and wings, and get it inside the cavity as well. Now we're going to make the herbed butter that we're going to rub all over the turkey. This is a very crucial step because the butter is what adds a ton of color as well as flavor to the turkey, and it also keeps it from drying out too much. To the butter, I'm going to add in a small head of garlic. I like the smell of garlic, that's why I'm adding so much. If you don't want as many, you can just add it in a couple cloves. I'm going to zest in 2 lemons as well as juice it into the butter mixture. This adds a really nice scent and tons of flavor into the turkey. Make sure you zest your lemon before you juice it because not only is it safer, it's also so much easier to zest it since it's a whole lemon. And now before juicing the lemon, I always like to roll it around on the counter to soften it up and kind of break up the pulp inside. This is going to release the most juice with the least amount of effort. I'm going to zest 2 lemons into the butter mixture and add in the juice of 1 lemon. To season, add in a heaping tablespoon of salt and pepper, as well as a tablespoon of dried oregano and parsley. You can add in different spices based off of your preferences. And finally, I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil to the butter mixture because this is going to prevent the butter from burning in the oven. I'm adding in dried parsley and dried oregano because I find that dried spices tend to have a stronger flavor compared to fresh ones, but of course you can use that as well if you want. Then just mix everything together until combined. We're ready to assemble the turkey and put everything inside of the oven now, so I'm going to first quickly explain what I have going on here. I have my roaster pan ready to go, as well as a rack, and this comes along with the pan, which is really great because you can prop up the turkey and allow the drips to pull up on the bottom without making the bottom of the turkey soggy. If you don't have one of these, it's also perfectly fine for you to just use any type of tray like I have here and put it on a cooling rack or just any sort of rack that can kind of lift up the turkey so it's not sitting inside stock and all the vegetables as well. First, I'm going to rub the herb butter on the bottom of the turkey that I flipped onto the top. So you want a nice amount and be nice and generous here, but make sure you do leave some for the top of the turkey as well. Make sure you get every bit of the turkey, so cover the wings, lift it up, as well as the drumsticks. You want to make sure every bit of the turkey is covered in this butter so that it can kind of contribute to it becoming evenly golden brown. It has more flavor and it's crispier after it's cooked. Alright, once that's done, I'm going to rub a little bit of the butter inside of the cavity as well. So the reason why it's important that the turkey is fully dried is because if there's still lots of moisture and water on top of it, the butter isn't actually going to stick and you won't be able to distribute it as evenly. Alright, so for the cavity of the turkey, we're going to add in some seasoning, so a little more salt and pepper. I like to mix it up beforehand so it can distribute a little bit more evenly. Before I place the turkey onto my roaster pan, I'm going to fill the bottom of it with my vegetables as well as the giblets. So I have my carrots, celery, and a little bit of onion as well as a head of garlic. Lightly seasoned with salt and pepper. Toss it around so everything is evenly seasoned. I'm going to make a little space for my rack. I'm going to flip the turkey onto the rack with the side that I have buttered on the bottom. Now I'm ready to stuff the turkey. I'm just going to put a couple of things that are going to make the turkey smell really nice while it's cooking. I don't like to put a lot of things in here because it actually makes it take longer to cook. So here I have some Granny Smith apple slices as well as onions, half a lemon, some fresh basil leaves as well as rosemary. Make sure you chop everything really nice and big because this is going to be cooking for a very long time in the oven and you don't want to overcook anything. But also because later on after this is fully done, we're going to be taking the stuffing out of the turkey, so chopping it nice and big just makes that easier. Now we're going to rub our herb butter on the inside between the skin and the turkey itself as well as all over the outside. So first I'm going to use my hand and kind of just reach between the skin and slowly release it from the turkey. You want to be very gentle here because you don't want to actually rip the skin, which is going to leave a hole in there and you don't want that. So be gentle. Alright, time for butter. So now to butter, I'm just going to take a big handful of it and shove it into the skin. Once you have a little mound of the butter, use your fingers to slowly push it inwards and the butter should flatten out. Make sure you're doing it evenly. And lastly, just rub all the excess butter onto the turkey. Get all the little crevices. Make sure you tuck the chicken wing. Make sure you tuck the wing underneath the bird so that the tip doesn't burn in the oven. So just fold it and then tuck it underneath. It should hold nice and securely. Alright, now we're going to do the final step, which is to tie up the 2 little drumsticks so that it stays secure. I'm going to wrap it around multiple times so that it can stay secure. Then just tie a nice and tight knot. Lastly, I'm going to pour some chicken broth into the bottom of this pan so we can use it to make gravy later on. To prevent the turkey from drying out inside of the oven, I'm going to cover it with a layer of parchment paper and then wrap it in some foil. Alright, this is loosely covered, so I'm going to place this into the oven that is preheated at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. So when it comes to baking, usually it takes about 15 minutes to cook each pound of turkey. So since I have 16 pounds, it's going to take about 4 hours. But since I did stuff the turkey with some stuffings, it's actually going to take even longer, so add about 20 minutes to half an hour to that, and you should get the amount of time that you need to cook the turkey for. So today I need to cook my turkey for about 4 hours and 20 minutes for it to be fully done. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit ahead of time. I don't like to change the temperature throughout, so I'm just going to make it really straightforward and just cook it at the same temperature for all 4 hours and 20 minutes. Make sure that you place your turkey in the lowest rack inside of your oven so that you don't risk the top of the turkey browning too quickly and burning throughout the cooking process. Now, everyone's turkey size may be different, so you'll have to adjust the time that you cook this for based off of how big yours is, so make sure that you refer to the ratios that I just explained earlier. Now, once you have 1 hour left of cooking, you want to remove the parchment paper as well as the foil so that you can have some color going onto the turkey. After removing the parchment paper and foil, you want to baste your turkey. So what that is basically taking the stock from the pan on the bottom and drizzling it over the turkey. You can use a turkey baster if you want to. I don't have one, so I'm just using a regular ladle. You want to drizzle it over evenly so this can keep its moisture but also help its color as well. If you find that the top of the turkey or any area is cooking faster than the rest, you can cover that area with a piece of foil as well. When you have half an hour of cooking time left, you want to insert a thermometer inside of your turkey in between the thigh and the turkey breast. That is the thickest part, so you're going to get the most accurate temperature from there. It is important for you to use a thermometer to test the temperature to see if the turkey is fully cooked, since everyone's oven is different, so the baking time may vary for you, and the size of each turkey is also different, so it's quite difficult to just base it off of how long you're going to cook it for. The temperature in between the thigh and the breast should reach 165 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point, the turkey is fully cooked and you could remove it from the oven. When you have half an hour left, you want to make sure you keep a close eye on your turkey, since again, everyone's oven temperature is different. It may even cook unevenly, so make sure you're keeping an eye on the color to make sure it's not burning, and also rotate the pan if you need to, in case your oven temperature is uneven like mine. So now we're going to allow the turkey to rest at room temperature for an hour or even longer, which is better. Doing this allows the turkey to cool down, of course, so it reabsorbs all of its juices and all of the flavor, so the turkey is going to taste much better, the texture is better as well, and it's also going to make it easier to carve later on, since the turkey won't just fall apart. So I'm going to transfer it to just another rack so that it can catch any of the drips. And I like to leave my turkey uncovered so that the skin can still stay crispy. Meanwhile, we're going to work on the gravy. So the gravy is typically just made with everything that is inside the pan right now. All of the vegetables and the giblets that we've added is just to add more flavor to it, so we don't actually need that inside of the gravy. So the first step is that we're going to remove those from this chicken stock. And you can leave this, you can either eat it or you can make some other dish with it. Now that I have everything removed, I'm going to pass the leftover stock into a sieve so we can get rid of all the lumpiness so we have a nice and smooth gravy. Once everything is separated, you can throw out the clumps on top. We don't need that anymore. And for the rest of the stock, there is a lot of butter and a lot of fat that is dripped off of the turkey during the cooking time. So to separate that, you can either use the really cool fat separators if you have one of those, but I do not. So the way that I like to separate it is to either leave it on the counter so that the fat separates from the stock. You can just scoop that off. Or a faster way is to just leave it in the fridge or even the freezer for a couple of minutes so that the fat solidifies, and then you can scrape it off like that. So I'm just going to place this in the fridge. I left the bowl inside the fridge for half an hour, and now not only has the fat separated from the stock, but it has also solidified. So now I'm just going to take a spoon and very easily separate that. We don't want all of this fat inside of the gravy, but we will be using a little bit of it later. So for the gravy, we can move over to the stove. I'm just going to use the roaster pan that I used to roast a turkey to make this. It's just a lot simpler, and it also has some leftover flavor in there that we're going to add to the gravy. After I removed all the fat from the stock, I'm going to measure out 4 cups. This should be plenty enough for you to serve the entire turkey. The more stock you add to the flour mixture, the easier it'll incorporate with the rest of the gravy. To the pan, I'm going to add in my stock. To this, I'm going to add in the fat that we separated earlier. I'm only going to add in about 2 tablespoons. You can also choose to add more fat if you'd like to, or you can also use butter. Turn the heat up to high. I like to slowly scrape down and kind of wash the sides down with the gravy because those little burnt bits contain a lot of flavor as well. My gravy turned out to be perfectly 4 cups, but if you are missing some, you can make up that amount with some more chicken stock. Gravy is starting to boil. I'm going to add in a little bit of that flour mixture at a time while stirring it in. Keep in mind this is a thickening agent, so you want to stir it really evenly. If there are any clumps of flour, it'll create a really clumpy gravy. As soon as this starts to boil, I'm going to take this off the heat. You want to make sure you're careful to not overcook the gravy because it will get really thick and lumpy. And keep in mind that after it starts to cool, the flour and all of the fats in there will also start to solidify, so it will get thicker as it cools down. If you did end up overcooking the gravy, you can add some more chicken stock to it, heat it up, and that will also save it. The turkey is now well rested, all of the oils have dripped to the bottom, and it has cooled down slightly. So we're ready to carve the turkey. Now this process may seem a little bit intimidating, it is quite a large bird, but once you break down the process, it's actually quite simple. So first, to remove the stuffing inside of the turkey, we're going to have to cut open the twine so that we can easily access the cavity. I'm going to remove all of the stuffing from inside the cavity and pour out any excess juices. I'm going to quickly sharpen my knife. You want a really nice and sharp knife for carving the turkey so that it makes the process easier. We're now ready to transfer the turkey onto a cutting board, so we're ready to carve it. I'm using tongs and a pitchfork. You can use anything you want. I'm just going to transfer this. So now to carve the turkey, I'm going to break this down step by step. But firstly, you want to make sure you have a cutting board that has like a well so they can catch any of the juices. If not, I would maybe recommend you placing it on top of some sort of cutting board or just laying down some towels next to it so it doesn't become a huge mess. So firstly, we're going to separate the drumstick and the thigh from the turkey. Once you get to the bottom, you should be able to pop the joint out using your hands. So now you have your drumstick and the thigh, and we're just going to place this aside for now. So now we're going to remove the breasts. To make this process a little bit easier, we want to remove the wishbone, which is inside the neck area. So we're going to first cut through the skin of the neck. We're going to cut around the bone, and you should be able to feel it with your fingers. And then just pop it out with your finger. That is the wishbone. It's like a little triangle. And now it's going to make it easier to remove the breast. To remove the breast, you want to cut along the breastbone, which is right down the center. That is the breast in one piece. And that's the other side of the breast. So those are the 4 biggest pieces, and I'm going to remove the wings. So this is pretty similar to removing the thighs. You also want to just cut and then jiggle it around until the joint comes out, and then just cut between that so it should easily pop out. And once again, you should not have to cut through any bones, because not only is that very difficult, probably very dangerous as well. And that is the turkey wing. Alright, that is our second half wing, since it's missing. Lastly, we're going to plate the turkey. So the hard part is over, we don't have to carve anything anymore. So at this point, we just want to slice them up into the thickness that you like, and we can place it onto our platter. So I'm going to start off with the thigh and the drumstick, and I'm just going to separate it so that it's a little bit easier to handle. So the joint is right there. Just going to cut in between it, and it should separate just like that. So we have our thigh, we have a drumstick. I like to cut it on an angle and try to keep the skin intact so it just, every bite you have a little bit of that skin. So now we're going to slice up the breast. This is the biggest part. I like to once again just do the same thing, slice it on an angle and try to keep it as clean as possible so it looks very put together on your platter. The easiest way to make sure that the skin stays intact is to just really gently glide it over top until the skin is cut through, and then continue to cut the meat. If you press it down right away, it's going to move around the skin and it won't look as nice. If you have any smaller pieces that aren't as pretty or uniform, you can just simply tuck it underneath larger pieces of meat to hide those imperfections. And our last and final step is to decorate this platter to make it a little bit prettier to represent all of the work that we've done so far. So to do this, I like to use a couple types of different herbs and some lemon as well. You can add apples, oranges, really any type of things to garnish it as you like. After many hours, our Thanksgiving turkey is finally ready. It looks beautiful and the gravy is also ready as well. Keep in mind that you don't have to eat the turkey really hot. It's also fine if it's cold or even room temperature. Just make sure that the gravy is nice and hot when you're serving it. Since we are leaving this out for rest and cutting it and just keeping it outside, it most likely won't be nice and piping hot before you serve it. So for the gravy, if you make this ahead of time, you can keep it in the fridge, but just make sure that you reheat it before you pour it over your turkey. I really hope that this video makes cooking a whole turkey a little bit less intimidating. Hope that broke it down well enough for you to understand how to make your own turkey as well. And it's a really great recipe for you to try out for Christmas or Thanksgiving. It's a great way to have a really impressive feast with lots of different people. I have made a Thanksgiving leftover turkey congee recipe in case you have any leftover turkey, which you most likely will. This is a lot of turkey, so make sure to check that out. I will link it down below and in the end as well. And hopefully if school isn't too chaotic and the holidays isn't too chaotic, I will also be posting some more leftover turkey recipes or just even more Thanksgiving recipes as well. I have a great pumpkin pie that I'm ready to film for you guys as well. I really hope that you guys can try this out at Thanksgiving and see you guys next time. Bye!